Okay, they've mentioned a little bit about me, but it's not going to be about me in the next couple of minutes that we have together. But what I just want to mention here is that after all my journey, 50 something years, I came to a very interesting conclusion about Africa and about organizations and about individuals, about us as individuals. One of those conclusions I've come to for organizations I've dealt with over the past 12 years, and also the experience I've had working with multinationals, is that no organization, no institution, no company can perform or scale beyond the quality of its leadership. Leadership, everything rises or falls on the shoulders of leadership. And again, that organizational structure is everything, whether nationally or even in a family or in a team or in a company. The way an organization is structured can enhance growth or it can limit growth. These are some of the most important conclusions that I've had. All right, I need some more interaction. Okay, but let me tell you something a little bit more, about myself, and then, some kind of origin story that gives some context to what we're going to be sharing in the next couple of minutes. How many of you remember the very sad Dana Air crash that happened in the first weekend in June of 2012? Okay, can put in the chat if you remember. Yes. Okay. So 153 passengers, unfortunately and sadly, died in that unfortunate crash in Lagos. And the yours truly speaking to you was the 154th passenger in that plane. So I was on that manifest. And at that time, we had a project with a couple of colleagues that we were running. It was a business plan competition at the time that was organized by MTN, and then we were the business plan judges. We had the business plan interviews for those who were selected in different parts of the country. So we had just completed for the southeast zone. We had held that in Port Harcourt. And it happened that weekend that we were in Port Harcourt was the visiting day for my son, who at that time was in Loyola Jesuit College in Abuja. And then for some of you who know LJC and how strict they are with visiting days, usually they had 2 visiting days for A and C class and then for B and D classes. And that Sunday happened to be, the Sunday we were in Port Harcourt happened to be for my son. But I couldn't attend because I was in Port Harcourt, and I felt, well, the following Sunday was not his visiting day, but I was going to ask the school to please let me see him that day, so that instead of going to Abuja twice, since I was going to be in Abuja, I would just go for that visiting day. Anyway, I wrote the school. For some reason, the school never got back to me. So on that Sunday that we were supposed to come back, that was on June the 2nd, from Abuja to Lagos, I said to my colleague, Wale, whose children were also in Loyola at the time, I said, I better join you. The highest that Loyola could say is, no, we won't let you see your son, so let me join you to go see my son in school. So I told the logistics coordinator, please put my name, remove my name from this manifest and put me on the evening flight of that particular day, the same Dana flight that particular day. And that was how my name was removed from that manifest for the evening manifest. And then the next thing we heard in the evening was that all the colleagues of mine, even as I narrate the story, it's so surreal. It's like it never really happened. It took me time to get over the fact that those my colleagues I told, goodbye, see you in Lagos. There were no more. So the 154th passenger. Now there was something that thing did to me. And it reminds me of this quote by Lewis Carroll. Lewis Carroll is probably popular for the Alice in Wonderland. That's a book I will encourage everybody to read. We think it's for kids, but I think it was actually it's a book that's loaded with so much ancient wisdom. So Lewis Carroll said, in the end, we only regret the chances we didn't take, the relationships we were afraid to have, and the decisions we waited too long to make. As I came back from that trip after the Dana crash, I kept asking myself, so what would have happened if I had gone? Was my family ready? Was my house in order? I mean, so many thoughts ran through my mind. And I kind of feel like I've been given a borrowed life, and that wasn't the first time I'm escaping a plane crash. I've been given a second chance and a borrowed life for a reason. So that's actually more important, about me and the things I do than any other thing. So now I want you to please type in the chat as we transit. What do you consider the most important skills and competencies for the future? It's really very important for me to have you type in something, and then please, if you could read out what's coming in the chat. I really find it necessary. All of you, please type what you consider the most important skills and competencies for the future as you look at the next 1, 5, 10, 20 years. What do you consider to be the most important skills and competencies? Please read what you see in the chat.
Data analysis, we have IT skills, we have people skills,
IT skills.
We have communication skills, problem solving, life skills, flexibility and adaptability, technology and emotional intelligence, digitally savvy, institution foresight, digital skills, robotics and AI.
Fantastic.
And the list goes on and on and on.
Fantastic. Robotics, AI, artificial intelligence, data analysis. Awesome. Fantastic. Those are all great answers. But may I tell you that those are good, but in my thinking, the most important skill for the future is self-knowledge. None of those things that you've mentioned. And I'm going to tell you exactly why. This is going to be the most important skill, the most important competency of the future. Now, it's interesting that all those things you listed in the chat, that's what people, I do have issues with the modern educational system, especially the kind of educational systems that we're running in Africa here, because there's very little connectivity between the kind of curriculum that I see in the schools and the real life out there. And the older I grow, the more astounded I am that the most important things are never taught in school. So you spend 6 years in the primary school, 6 years in the secondary school, 4 to 7 years in the university, and if you did your PhD, a lot more. Not once did the school teach you about knowing yourself, which is really the most important thing. I mean, it's not by accident that the ancient Greeks said, man, know thyself. And the simple secret is, if you know yourself, if you can fix yourself, then you can fix everything else. But you see, I work with teams, I work with businesses, I work with management organizations, and I do have these coaching clients, across the continent. And often I find people who are very knowledgeable about their subject area: internal auditing, accounting, strategy, name it. They're very good in those areas, in all those technical areas, product design, marketing, competitive intelligence analysis, all those things. But they are not functioning as human beings. And I find people who have professional successes, professional competencies, they're known all over the world, in their area, but they are not functioning as human beings. And so you find my little niece a couple of years ago, she was staying with us, and then we sent her out to look for some work to do, to look for some kind of internship and vacation job. And then one of those experiences she had, when I look at it today, she got into a gentleman's office, a big man's office, manager, MD of a company, and to look for work. And then MD locks up the door for this little 18, 19-year-old, and then wanted to take advantage of her to give her a job. So yeah, very successful people, but they just don't know themselves. And reminds me of what Professor Lumumba said. You see, if you don't conquer yourself, you are going nowhere. And so we see every day men and women who are accomplished in their respective disciplines, but they are not functioning as individuals. We find billionaires who are taking their lives, killing themselves. We find big men, bankers, who can't keep a marriage, who are abusing their wives, who are neglecting their children, who are not bringing up their children in ways that the society can be sustained. And the reason is they don't know themselves. And again, the skills that got you out of Egypt aren't the same skills that will take you to the promised land. So this was Dan Sullivan of the Strategic Coach. So I can't really emphasize how much important it is that you make your most important curriculum going forward, self-knowledge, understanding yourself. Because if you don't know yourself, nothing else matters. And then a lot of people die, just learning the wrong curriculum. They're learning data science, they are learning artificial intelligence, they are learning robotics, they are learning engineering, they are learning all kinds of things, accounting, business management. And they never spend time on the most important curriculum of all, knowing yourself. Because if you fix yourself, you can fix anything else. So the ancient Greeks were very well known for this man, know thyself. Because people know everything about everything else. They know everything about celebrities. They know everything, like our young people today. They know everything about all the football players in Europe. They can tell the date of birth of Messi. They can tell Messi does his shopping, tell how many girlfriends he has, all kinds of things, but they know nothing about themselves. And so these are the 4 questions that after that plane crash incident, I have been asking myself, because I do a lot of journaling, right from when I was young. I find that journaling is very, very powerful, because journaling reveals yourself to you in a way that nothing else does. So these are 4 key questions I've asked myself over the years, and I keep asking, who am I? When I ask you that question, who are you? Very likely you start telling me, I'm an engineer, I'm an accountant, I'm a doctor, I'm a lawyer. But is that really who you are? Who are you? When all those titles are stripped off, when all these awards, when all these clothes are removed from you, when it's just you naked, no accolades, none of these things, who really are you? And I find that that's the most difficult question for so many people to answer. Many people don't know who they are. They have no idea. You ask them who they are, they say, I'm Mrs. Somebody. So they have this relativity to who they are, or they say, I'm a lawyer. And so they talk about what they do. But who are you? Who are you? Key question. What makes you you? And not the Joneses. And until you answer that question, you end up trying to copy other people. to do what other people are doing, to try to be like other people. They say, oh, the legal profession is the best, you go become a lawyer. Oh, the accounting profession is the best, you go become a guy. Oh, start being an entrepreneur is the best, you go become because you don't know what makes you you. What are your unique capabilities and abilities? What makes you you? All of us, like have, if you look at our thumbprints, they're all very different. All the billions of people who ever lived on the earth, very, very different for a purpose. So what makes you you? So that you don't end up living another person's life. And many people just keep living other people's lives. And at the end, when they stand face to face with destiny, and destiny doesn't recognize them because this wasn't the person we sent into the world, then why were you born? Why were you born? What's your purpose? Why are you consuming oxygen? Why are you praying for long life? What is that long life for? What are you going to? What is it all about? Why were you born? And how are you engaging with the world? How do you show up in life? Now, this is what I'm showing you. You don't find this in any curriculum in the university. And I don't know if your professional curriculum also has this. And yet, this is the most important skill, the most important thing that anyone can begin to do, because you never really discover your full potential until you discover who you are and until you're able to answer these 4 questions here. So this ancient Greeks used to tell us that every human being has 4 rooms in his life. Okay, there is the arena. The arena is that space, that part of your life, that's very well known to yourself and also known to everybody. It's in the public. So everybody knows, okay, you're a lawyer. Everybody knows, you're married and you have 3 boys. Everybody knows, okay, says, oh, he's a kind person. He smiles a lot. That's arena. But there is the blind spot. And the blind spot include those areas of your life where it's known to others. Others see it, but it's not known to yourself. It's interesting that people, for instance, are blind. People don't perceive their body odor. So you may have seen somebody who has some body odor, or who's maybe didn't brush his mouth that day or something. He's smelling, but he's completely oblivious to it. Doesn't know it. And so, like they say that a camel does not see its own hump. So those blind spots, and those are usually the areas that sabotage people the most, including professionals. Those things you don't know about yourself, but others see it. And so you can grow and become the best doctor, the best professional in the world, but it takes just one blind spot to sabotage all that. Then there is the 4th room in our lives, the facade. And the facade is known to you. It's just those things known to you, but never known to others. So everybody says, oh, this is a great fellow. He's a jolly good fellow. This is a fantastic gentleman. He's a wonderful person and all that and all that. Everybody says that, gives you all those accolades in the public. But then when you get into your room, in the quietness of your room, oh my God, if they should beam the things, the kind of things you think, if they should beam the secrets of your heart, if they should beam those secret habits to the world, people will be very shocked at this person that they thought they know, that they don't know. And then there is also this other room, it's mystery room. It's neither known to yourself nor known to other people. And I hope we get a chance to to deal with this. And you see, that's why coaching is extremely important, because you don't see your blind spots. But a well-trained coach, that's part of why I went into it, because I've gone through a lot of coaching myself, and there's no time really, including now, I don't have a coach, someone I'm paying to help, because there's no way. Your life is too short to know everything. Even if you're going to live to be 80 years or 90 years, that's still a very tiny, it's just like a vapor to be able to know anything. So you want to leverage, like, I don't know who said, whether it was Newton, credited to so many people, that he leverages, the shoulder of giants. He's able to do the things he does because he stands on the shoulders of giants. Now, if you don't conquer yourself, you're going nowhere. It doesn't matter how many degrees, how many programs you go for. Doesn't matter how many countries you try, you get. If you don't know yourself, if you don't conquer yourself, you're going nowhere. And our country is filled today with, leaders who don't know themselves, who haven't conquered themselves, and they are trying to conquer our problems. So a spiritual writer said that you can only punish disobedience when your own obedience is complete. Okay, so Gandhi was told, I had a story about Gandhi the other time. A woman brought her 14-year-old child to Gandhi and said, Gandhi, I would like you to speak to my son. He eats too much sugar. It's not good for him. He's addicted to sugar. So speak to him, because we know that you are the Mahatma. If you talk to him, he will respect you and he will stop it. So now, what did Gandhi do? Gandhi said to the woman and to her 14-year-old son, true story, he said to her, go back and come back with your son in 2 weeks' time. 2 weeks' time, the woman comes back with the little boy, with a teenager, with a 14-year-old. Gandhi, we are back. Gandhi just looked at the boy and said, my son, I want you to stop eating sugar. That was all. And the woman was looking at him. Is that all? He said, yeah, that's all. He said, why didn't you tell us the same thing, just 14 days ago? You told us to wait 14 days just to do that. And then Gandhi said, because at the time you came, I myself was addicted to sugar. And so there was no way I could have helped somebody. So you see, the problem is we have leaders who haven't conquered their inner demons, who haven't conquered themselves, trying to lead us, trying to help us to conquer our problems. And I like this quote by Carl Jung. And, those of us involved in the MBTI practice, who are very familiar with Carl Jung. He did a lot of work. That's the basis of, the personality assessments that we do. He said, until you make the unconscious conscious, it will rule your life, and you will call it fate. Happens every day. And then this has become there's a lot of religious businesses, business models built out of ignorance of this simple fact. A business is not doing well, and then this business owner goes to some prophet. The prophet tells him or her, oh, it's arrows from the village. It's something. It's always something outside of themselves. But because you've not made the unconscious conscious, these things appear like, arrows from the village, while all along you are carrying in yourself the very same matchbox that you're using to set your own house on fire. And so a lot of things appear like mysteries and appear like witchcraft, but we are the ones, actually sabotaging ourselves. All these habits we built, all these patterns have been running in our lives over the years. So you ask somebody, how old are you? Like I asked some of you in the room. Some will say I'm 50 years, some will say I'm 40, some will say I'm 30 years. And I ask, are you really 50 years old? Or you've just lived 1 year experience 50 times? Because a lot of people have been repeating the same pattern in their lives. People I knew when they were teenagers are still repeating the same patterns in their 50s, getting the same results because of all these unconscious things that they are not self-aware. So self-awareness is critical and is the foundation of leadership. So the essence of a personal growth plan is to reduce your blind spots, to reduce your facade, to reduce the mystery, and to bring you into the arena. Okay, so that's really one strategic consideration for personal growth: to increase your arena, to reduce or eliminate your blind spot and your facade. To live in the open, to become self-aware and powerful. Now, so let me round off by sharing a concept that I developed just within the week. So this just came on time because this is the very first forum I'm sharing this. I developed lots of tools, for coaching and then for leadership and personal growth. And then this one I developed just within the week. It's called Sustainable Change Domains. And what this basically, the foundation of this is that you live in a kind of tripartite environment, so you hear about the mindset, but it's not just the mindset. There's a physical set, which involves your physical environment. You're part of a physical environment, and your physical environment actually sets you. That's why it's called physical set. After living in a certain place for a long time, you are set. There's a kind of physical set. You're set in the ways of that physical environment. So if you see a child raised in Makoko and a child raised in Ikoyi, their languages are going to be very different, extremely different. The way they talk, the way they relate will be different, but they're full human beings. So there's a physical set, your physical environment, people you move around with, the community you live, the way you organize your physical space, all right? And this space, the physical set, has a lot to do with doing, and it's quite sensory. There's the mindset, and the mindset is the mental environment, your mental environment. And the core of this environment is thinking, being rational. So there is a mental set as well, which defines you. These things are called set because they limit you. So you cannot perform more than the room that your physical set gives you, and you cannot grow bigger than your mindset. That's why we call it mindset. Your mindset fixes you in a particular place. But this is even something much more, and it's called the heart set. And this is the spiritual environment. And by the way, when I say spiritual, I'm not talking about religion. People mistake both. They are completely different. I'm not religious myself, but I'm spiritual. So it's a spiritual environment, deals with purpose, deals with meaning, deals with your relationship, with the higher being and with others. And this place deals with believing. It doesn't deal with sight. So in the realm of the spiritual, you believe before you see. But in the realm of the physical, you see, then you believe. And the results are very different. Now, what's the implication of this? The implication of this is that if you want to see a change in the future, as you plan your future, life after your profession, and not even life after your profession, even life in your profession, you need to consider making shifts, the kind of shifts you need to make in these different dimensions. Now, the physical set, when you make a shift in the physical set, let's say you can accomplish some little bit of result, but it's actually limited. For instance, if you decide to move from between, you're living in Lagos and then you want to move to Abuja, it's a shift, and there are going to be consequences. There are going to be things, for better or for worse as a result of that shift. If you decide to declutter your physical environment, your space, your bedroom, your living room, your kitchen, so many people I've met people who still have the wedding gifts they got 22 years ago that they got married. They still have those wedding gifts in cartons that they have not touched. Some people still have clothes. Some people have clothes that have been in the box for 36 months, 3 years. They haven't touched it. They say they keep it for special occasion. And then if you have such things, you need to give it out, because it just means if you haven't used something for 22 years, for goodness sake, it's not yours. Give it out, declutter. So you can make shifts in the physical. But you see, the biggest shifts come, when you make mindset shifts, when you change your paradigms, the way you think about things. See, my mentor said that when you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. Because a lot of people, for instance, in the so-called pandemic that we find ourselves now, a lot of people are reframing it as opportunity. But many other people are reframing it as crisis, and then they fall into this sense of hopelessness, and then fall into this sense of helplessness, because your mindset will affect the kind of results you get. Okay, a mindset plays in the realm of habit. By the time you do something, you start from unconscious incompetence until the thing you begin to do it, with unconscious competence. All right, so that's really what that mindset does. But I think the most powerful shifts come when you shift who you are as a person, when you shift your identity. Okay, so there is that word we use all the time, become. That word become actually has two words. You be, first of all, then all the other things that need to happen as a result of who you are, they are attracted automatically to you. So you seek first the kingdom, and then everything else comes to you. You be, then all these things will come. So, and that's the realm of limitless possibilities. That's also the realm of character. So you don't just want to make a shift in the physical set, which would involve like, okay, what new skills, what new programs will I go to run and things like that, but how do I need to change my, so I have a little exercise I'm going to round off with. But before then, for the future, there are 6 human faculties, and very few people are engaging these faculties. Many professionals are just engaging one faculty, and that's the intellect. But you see, when you begin to live as a full human being and you're engaging your imagination, these faculties are not giving you for nothing. You're engaging your intellect, you're engaging your will, you're engaging your conscience, you're engaging your memory, you're engaging your emotion in a very, very empowering way. Then you have a very, very awesome future. And finally, this is a worksheet that I would like to leave with you to make what I've shared with you today actionable, because I always believe, and especially by my practice, that people should understand the concept, but they should also have means and tools that would
Sorry, Ogbo, the sound went off. Sorry.
Okay, just a second. I'm not sure why that happened, but okay.
Can you unmute yourself?
Okay, I'm trying to do that. I'm not sure why it's not letting.
Ogbo, sorry, can you unmute yourself?
All right. Okay. Yeah, sorry about
Thank
that. I think, I'm not sure why that happened. Okay, and I'm not sure what the last thing I said before I went on mute, but let me just repeat. But did you get the previous slide before I came to this one?
Just go back to that slide and then walk back.
This one?
Yeah, from here it's better.
Okay. All right, so it's important as you look at the future as professionals. And in fact, I like your profession, just the sound of it, internal auditing. It's because you don't just do this for organization. It's powerful when you can do it for yourself. You audit yourself. You audit how you show up in the world. You audit how you engage with life. And you can transport the competencies you use in auditing to, doing your physical set, auditing your physical set, auditing your mental set, auditing your mindset, auditing your heart set, and auditing your own personal life. You can actually transport and use those skills. So I'm saying that most people, most professionals end up not using, because these are the 6 human faculties that everybody is given. Permit me to say that there truly is equal opportunity here on earth. Everybody comes here with equal opportunity. Same 24 hours, same oxygen, same H2O, water. I do know that there is the influence of environment where people work. But I tell you, as you engage these human faculties, you could see that your imagination, using the faculty of your imagination, it could take you, because the person speaking to you is a testimony, like they would say, in places of worship. Yeah, because I come from a village where nobody knows. And when I look at that wasn't on the map, I didn't come from a big, wealthy family. But when I look at my experience over the past couple of decades, the places I have been virtually around the world, the lives I have spoken to, the impact, that this person, just by believing And by imagining what he has been able to do, it kind of makes me shudder. And it gives me the confidence to say that anybody from anywhere, from any background, can become whatever you choose and you want to become. Engaging these 6 human faculties. The faculty of your imagination that helps you to see the unseen, that helps to imagine things and to bring them to reality. The faculty of the intellect, of the will, of conscience, of memory, and of emotion. So you want to be able to engage all these 6 human faculties to actually live a very powerful future. And then I said that I always want to give my clients a chance to make actionable the concepts I share with them. So what I will encourage you to do is take this personal growth worksheet. I'm going to send these slides and make them available, to you. And then you can use this, go through these questions, find time, take half a day, for yourself, and ask, what changes can I make in my home, in my workspaces, in my living spaces right now? What changes can I make in my physical appearance, my health and fitness? Some of these changes are cornerstone habits. For instance, I exercise every day, and as I'm exercising, it's actually opening up a lot of things. My health, my intellect, my creativity, they open up. Ask yourself that question. For mindset, who do you, to become who you want to become, what changes must you make? Who will you listen to? A lot of people are listening to the wrong channels. I'm telling you. And I tell people to throw away their television sets and they think I'm just being too ascetic. We don't have a TV in my house. We don't. Never had. The only television we actually had, we ever had, was in 1999, bought in 1999, that tube thing, which we never really used. Then when we moved from Port Harcourt, we bought it to Lagos. The only reason it was brought from wherever it was I was on television for 5 years, live TV. So we just dusted it, brought it, put there so that when I'm on TV, my family can see their daddy on TV. I'm telling you, and I miss nothing. What channels, see, because you need to protect your mental bandwidth. Solomon said that you should protect with all diligence your heart, your mind, your heart, because it's out of it are the issues of life. What books, what mentors, what coaches, what kind of people should I have around me? Some of us are in the wrong crowd. And then finally, heart set, what's my purpose? I exist to complete that sentence. I exist to do what? One of the most powerful exercises I ever did for myself was when I was doing a project for Shell in Holland. The year before I left Shell, I got back to the hotel room and just said, look, what is all this about life? Okay, is it just, have a great career, build good houses, send my children abroad for school, build a big house in the village? Then after that, what? Was that just the meaning? Was that just why I'm alive? So I sat down on my journal and I wrote 100 things I want to accomplish before I died. Powerful exercise. Sit down, write these things, focus. What are the 3 priorities in your life? You see, when you live a priority-driven life, you are very, very bold. It confers some kind of almost immortality on you and fearlessness that allows you to live. And then finally, what would fascinate you for the rest of your life? When you define all these things in your heart set, then you begin to audit all the activities around. You audit the way you use your time, because if anything does not conform to that heart set, you shouldn't be doing it. Finally, I ask people, if you were going to die in 30 minutes time, what are you going to do? And then they make a list. If you knew, and the doctors told you, and you knew you were going to die in 30 minutes time. I beg your pardon, 30 minutes time. What are you going to do in the last 30 minutes? And they tell me all kinds of things. I'm going to call my wife. I'm going to do this. I'm going to tell somebody I've not forgiven that I've forgiven them. I'm going to, and they do that. So I tell them, look at that list you just gave me. If what you're doing right now, if you're not doing those things right now, then you're not living on target. Because do you know the last 30 minutes? So anything on that list is what you should be doing. And if you are doing things that are not on that list, you need to kill them and focus so that you can live a life that is purposeful, that is powerful, and that is worthy, and that is accurate. I want to thank you very much for your attention. I'm not sure we have, I don't know if we have time for questions. If we do, we can take a couple of them. Otherwise, this is how you can connect with me. So I want to send it back to you.
We have
And
time
thank you
for
very
two
much.
questions, Ogbo. We
Okay.
have time for two questions, and there are two questions on the Q&A panel.
Okay. All right.
So you have to
Read them out.
get there.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. So Q&A.
Eric, sorry, questions here from my own end. I don't know if you could kindly help out with that.
I'm sorry? Okay, I'll do that.
Yeah. Just a
So
second.
let me read the question now.
Just a
Let me
second.
read the question now.
All right. Read. Read it. I listened
Yes.
to you while I plug my power. It looks like my.
Okay, so this is from Nameka Stampo. It's in response to the poll. It
Yes.
says, intrinsic value of accomplishments for me is measured by my being able to meet my obligation to my God, family, employer, and contribution to my society, etc. That I'm able to fulfill my obligations ethically is my measure of success. What do you say about that?
Yeah, I think that that's, for me personally, I think it's really well aligned. So I talked about defining your priorities, because I'm not saying to those people who said professional achievement or money or wealth and all that as a measure of success. There's really nothing wrong with that, but it's important to prioritize. And so I think that prioritizing one's relationship with his maker, prioritizing the family, prioritizing impact, what you're here for. You're blessed to be a blessing to others. I think that's really great, because at the end of it, people, one ancient patriarch said, we came naked and then we are going to go naked. So the thing is, how do you use all the resources and all the gifts and everything you're given? How do you see them as a trust? Okay? And how do you come back to, at the end of it, you look back and say, I have lived well and I have been a blessing to other people.
Thank you very much. And from Abdul Razak Momodu, what is your take on developing oneself and spouse to be life coaches to another as a cheaper option to engaging a life coach? And guess the person doesn't want to hire Ogbo, but would like to do it internally, man and wife. So what's the average cost implication for getting a life coach?
Oh, I love this.
But the main question is, what is your take on developing oneself and spouse to be life coaches to one another? That's the primary question.
Fantastic. I love it. It's a great idea, because that's actually what it's supposed to be. Both of you coaching one another. And so you don't really have to spend time hiring coaches. If you are able to do that, for yourself, but there's a whole lot, because coaches are particularly trained, and then they have tools and frameworks. And then for experienced coaches, they've seen so many situations that help them to provide guidance, because a coach doesn't direct you, doesn't tell you do this or do that. A coach basically asks you questions that will help. So husbands and wife can do that. I encourage it, because my wife and I have been married this year. This is 25 years of our marriage. One of the exercises that we did, for instance, we sit down, and then I asked my wife, one day, what are the things I do that irritate you? Okay. And then she made a list of them. And then I said, okay, for me, these are the things you do that irritate me. So we call it irritants. So just holding each other accountable. And it's fantastic, So I said, so if I do this, that irritates my wife. And then because I love her, I stop it. And we are 25 years, and I tell you, our relationship is far, far, far much better, richer, more loving, more intimate than it was 25 years ago. So husbands and wife actually owe it to each other to help one another. And then one other very quick story. When I worked with Shell in the late 1990s, there was a day I actually told an untruth, something that was not true. I said a lie in the office. And then my conscience was so struck. I was so struck, in my conscience. So, and I knew I had to tell these people the truth again, But it was terrible because I was so highly regarded, and in fact, they also knew me as a godly person. So to go back and tell these people that, look, listen, what I said yesterday was not true, it was horrible. So I now came back home and I told my dear wife, this is what happened. She listened very empathetically and patiently. And you know what she said? Anyway, you know the right thing to do. I mean, it's like, you have to go back and tell them that you lied. So it's wonderful to have that kind of person, that kind of relationship, not somebody, you see, I bring in Ghana must go, as human, I'm a politician, and then my wife doesn't say, where is that money from? And then you just take it. That's a terrible thing. But she told me, and I went back and said to Shell, I'm sorry, I told a lie. And this was it. And I got free. So that's how husbands and wives can actually support each other, mentor each other to become better. It's a given. It should happen. Life coach or not.
Thank you. We actually just have about 2 minutes. So I'm going to use 30 seconds to ask one question and another 30 seconds to ask 2 questions. So you have 1.5 minutes for both. So the first one is, how do you align ethics of your profession with morality? This is from Christian Baba.
Mm-hmm.
That's the first question.
Okay, how to align ethics of your profession with morality is a very big conversation that I'm not sure we have time to talk about. But I just yesterday, interestingly, we had this conversation with a client, especially in our environment, very, very difficult. So let me answer that question with a very, very quick question. I was traveling a couple of years ago to Port Harcourt, between East-West Road and Port Harcourt, very lonely road, many years ago, like 15, 16, 20 years ago. Very lonely road. It was late in the evening, like past 5 p.m., and I was driving alone in the car. And then on that road, that expressway, I met a blockade of 7 heavily armed policemen. 7 heavily armed policemen. And so they stopped me and formed an arch in front of me along the road with loaded guns. We in Nigeria, we know our police. So I stopped. One of them now came to the window. I rolled down my window. He opened his mouth. And ladies and gentlemen, when he opened his mouth, the kind of gin, local gin, kai that oozed from his mouth could have killed all the mosquitoes in the forest. This guy was dead drunk. So he said, Oga, give me your papers. I brought up my papers. I showed him. Everything was complete. And when he took my papers, went to the other people, he said, Oga, it's not complete. One more thing remains. I said, what is it? What is that one? This is what he said. He said, you do not have your certificate of entitled. That's exactly what he told me. I didn't have certificate of entitled. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I looked around that very, very lonely stretch of bush and forest. Drunk policemen in front of me, holding gun, asking for certificate of entitled that does not exist, that doesn't mean anything. You know what I did? I put my hand in my pocket, brought out money, and said, officer, is this the certificate? He said, yes, carry go. They gave me my papers and I left. I'm alive to tell you this today. So I don't know what to make out of this story, but I didn't give these guys bribery. My papers were complete. Everything was okay, but I was in that very terrible situation, and I'm alive to talk about it today. We can talk about the ethics next time. Moral dilemmas and things like that is real, but be guided, by conscience and wisdom.
Thank you very much.